throw-ins, corners, yellow cards. Previously, very boring. Now almost too exciting, thanks to same-game multi-bets from Paddy Power. Same-game multis allow you to combine multiple selections into one game. Easy. Available on all UK and top European leagues. T's and C's apply.
Hi there, a very warm welcome to the Racing Post Football Postcast. The panel this week is me, Bruce Millington, him, Mark Langdon. We've also got in the studio James Milton, and over in Ireland at Power Towers, we've got Paddy Powers, Emmett O'Keefe. Right, we're looking ahead to all the Premier League games, all the best bets right across Europe, down the leagues, all the naps. Let's hope we get a good selection this week. We'll start off though with the big 6 questions. The lads get 2 each and then they get to answer the one they wish they had been asked. Mark Langdon, very simple, Messi or Ronaldo?
Oh yeah, I mean, Messi. I think there's a few reasons why. I think Ronaldo's probably, in terms of the goal scorer, I think Ronaldo has proven in sort of the last few Champions Leagues, he's sort of trumped Messi in that department, but there's much more to football than simply scoring goals. I think Ronaldo's at an advantage with the way that he's built athletically as well. Messi has to come from a more difficult place there. And I was at Wembley last night, not the first time I've seen him live, and hopefully not the last. He was just incredible. It's like it's his game and you're just sort of playing it with him. He slows the game down when he wants, he speeds it up. If you go tight on him, he just goes past you. If you stand off him, he picks a pass. You can't. It's very difficult to man-mark him. I think you just have to hope that the team does a good job of not getting the ball to Messi. I mean, it's just incredible that Argentina haven't had one manager that's been able to kind of build a team around him and sort of give him the crown and glory he deserves at international level. But he was just a joy to watch last night.
Was the mood one of kind of resignation as you're waiting to get back down to Wembley Park Tube Station? I mean, it didn't sound like there was a lot of anger from the Spurs fans on Twitter. They were just like, well, that was just, what can you do?
Most people were kind of smiling along, really, at the game that they watched. I think when the team news was out and Spurs were missing so many key players, it was always going to be difficult. And Messi was getting rounds of applause for stuff he was doing. Artur did a nutmeg on someone that it felt more like a testimonial type game where, the Spurs fans had come to watch Barcelona as, your pecking order. Tottenham are not as good as Barcelona. In the 5 things we learned this week, Tottenham are not quite as good as Barcelona, So, no, it was just great to watch it.
How long did it take you to tumble the cores of that sort of beige rectangle in the middle of the pitch?
10 seconds. Yeah. It was the boxing.
I was struggling with that. I was like, what's going on? And then they mentioned the Anthony Joshua fight.
My dad said, what's that from? The NFL, because he immediately wants to sort of have a dig at the NFL. I said, no, I think it's it was Joshua had a fight there the other week. Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't great, was it?
I don't think it affected it. The ball was running across there, okay?
Maybe drag Tottenham down to Barcelona's level.
James, I'm going to ask you the question, then we're going to get a show of betting from Emmett, and then we'll get your views. It's a very vague question, I'm afraid. Any fresh thoughts on the Champions League value, either outright or groups? While you are ruminating, Emmett, perhaps you could give us Paddy Power's latest Champions League outright.
Sure. It's Man City 5-1, Barcelona 5-1, Juventus 7-1, PSG 8-1, Liverpool 9-1, Real Madrid 9-1, Bayern 10-1, Atletico 10-1, and then 40s bar.
Okay, go on. 40s bar. There's a big, however many that was, isn't there? What do you think, James?
I'm not sure. I've had a bit of money on Liverpool at the start, and I certainly wouldn't be deserting them after this week's setback in Naples.
Tell us about the game. Did you watch it?
I didn't, unfortunately. No. But obviously they got done very late on by a Napoli goal. Klopp said they weren't quite at it. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but I just think the way they've started the season in general, and the extra squad depth they've got. I think they were around sort of 12-1. Then they were punted in for the Champions League, and so maybe drifted out a little bit on the back of that. Obviously, already got the win over PSG. This group was never going to be a gimme. So yeah, no need to panic for Liverpool backers, I think.
I watched PSG last night. I mean, I know that Red Star aren't all that, but they absolutely toyed with them.
Well, I think that's the thing with PSG is that because of their attacking players, when they're playing against weak opposition, they are going to absolutely batter them. Whereas, say, there may be other teams that are better suited to, just like an Atletico, for instance, they're not going to beat somebody by 6. Yet if Atletico play Paris Saint-Germain, You know,
It
Mbappe,
neutralises it.
Neymar, you know, not going to get as much space, are they? And then you know, their lack of defending becomes an issue.
That honestly, I mean, I know when everyone says it could have been double figures, it couldn't, but it could have been last night. It really could. So, if I gave you a crisp tenner, James, and said have it on a team to win the Champions League, what would you do with it?
Well, I've already got a bit on Liverpool, so I might. I don't know. I mean, Bayern Munich at double figure odds just always looks a little bit wrong. So I might put your tenner on them.
Righty-ho. Emmett, you're a good Man U fan. Who should manage Manchester United?
I think, like most Man United fans, I think the first choice would be Mauricio Pochettino. But I think it's pretty unlikely that they're going to get him during the season. So I think it most likely will end up being Zidane. But I would definitely hope for Pochettino.
Would you prefer Zidane to Mourinho?
Yes, I think it's.
Do you think Mourinho's done now?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's going to be incredibly hard for him to come back from this.
Okay, so you would get rid of him. When do you think the United hierarchy will get rid of him?
I think it could be after this weekend, to be honest. I know that I think we'll get on to the United v Newcastle game later, but and Newcastle aren't the greatest opposition. But if they were to lose to Newcastle, I think it would be very, very hard to justify keeping him on. Like it's hard. It's one of the biggest cliches in football about losing the dressing room, and it's rare that every player in the dressing room is fully against the manager. But clearly, there's Pogba and a few others who are against him. So I think it will be difficult for him to come back from this.
Normally when a manager loses the dressing room, because they're so sort of meek and they just get overrun, but it's almost like he's tried to lose them. It's absolutely peculiar, it really is. Now, are Paddy Power preemptively betting on the next Man U market, Emmett?
Yeah, we've had the betting up for a while, and we've seen a flood of money for Zidane. So much. I think we opened him maybe 7 or 8 to 1, and he's now into 8 to 13 favourite.
And give us some other prices. Who else is there?
So Pochettino 6 to 1, Conte 10 to 1, Brendan Rodgers 10 to 1, Sean Dyche 16 to 1, Ryan Giggs 16 to 1, Blanc 20 to 1, Allegri 20 to 1.
Sean Dyche, you'd love it, but isn't going to happen. Now, Mark, before I ask you your other question, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to express your disdain for the notion that Pochettino would go to Old Trafford.
Would he go? I think at the end of the season it could become more attractive. You know, what is there, I suppose, to accomplish at Tottenham at some stage? I think he is going to want to kick on, and you do wonder, you know, if he does. He must have wanted players in the summer, and I know that you know, he's kind of taking it on the chin. But when he sees everybody else getting that kind of money, I just wonder if he's waiting for the Real Madrid job, because Lopetegui's not doing too well there.
Okay. Right, your second official question is who should manage Aston Villa? And before you answer it, Emmett, what's the latest betting?
So we've Dean Smith favourite 5 to 2, Thierry Henry 4 to 1, Paulo Fonseca 9 to 2, John Terry 7 to 1, Sam Allardyce 10 to 1, and Brendan Rodgers 10 to 1.
Okay, Mark.
Well,
who should it be? Who will it be?
Well, I think who should it be? I think Dean Smith deserves. I mean, when we were talking about who could be the next Stoke manager, back when, do you remember when Mark Hughes said nobody could do a better job than him? Yeah. I remember he was the one that came to mind as somebody.
He's standing by that right now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and if you have a look at what Dean Smith's done at Brentford, and I know the setup's very good there, but I think he is. If he wants to move on to a bigger club, inverted commas, then this is an opportunity for that, and you know, I think he is deserving of that opportunity. Somebody was telling me today, though, that the people that are involved with Aston Villa have got close links to Uncle George, Jorge Mendes, who's got his fingers in many pies in Midlands football, and I think that's where the Paulo Fonseca link comes from. So don't be amazed if there's like a Portuguese bloke that you've maybe even not heard of that suddenly pops up into the betting at some stage. So not a market I'd be betting on. But if you can find out somebody that's got maybe links to Mendes at big prices, that might be your avenue of profit.
Could John Terry do a job for them, do you think?
I mean, possibly, but I mean, I don't think Villa are in a position really to be gambling on him or a Thierry Henry at this stage. I mean, you know, they've got a good squad. Steve Bruce was massively underachieving. It's nothing to do with the Birmingham links. They hated the football he was playing. I think he's he's not the first manager. I think he's just a bit of a dinosaur now. And somebody like Dean Smith's got much brighter ideas on how the game should be played. You can't just turn up and sort of get 11 people and just say, go out there and have a go. Those days are over, and I think we're seeing those type of coaches being found out more and more.
Jolly good. James Milton, what do you make of West Ham? Again, another very vague question, but I mean, they obviously had a very poor start, and now they've perked up no end, haven't they? Where do you think they could finish this season?
Yeah, I mean, the last kind of 3 results in the league, and obviously eight goals in the League Cup as well. You actually look at that front 3 now, kind of Felipe Anderson, Arnautovic, Yarmolenko, and it's a really exciting front 3. So just the bare facts, I think they started out with 4 straight defeats, didn't they? And West Ham fans, perhaps not known for their patience, were already starting to worry. But actually, they were well in the game at Arsenal when they ended up losing 3-1. Arsenal were pretty fortunate that day. And then, they've gone to Everton and won, played well against Chelsea, a 0-0 draw, and obviously beaten Manchester United. So I think in terms of the quality that they brought in over the summer, I think they've got a great chance, and probably top 10 has to be the ambition now.
What would your predicted finishing position be if someone pinned you down to the ground?
Having said they should aim for top 10, I think that with West Ham you always think there's a way that they'll mess it up, but 11th or 12th.
Okay. Have we got any betting on West Ham and their top half pretensions, Emmett?
Yeah, we're currently 13-10 on West Ham to finish top 10.
13-10. Interesting. Now then, Emmett, we're going to go north of the border. I'm going to ask you a question because I must admit I don't pay as much attention to Scottish football as I used to, and I was amazed to see the league table the other day with Celtic languishing. Their poor start to the season had completely passed me by. I'm obviously not paying attention when Roddy Forsyth gives us his updates on the Scottish Roundup. So they're languishing at the moment. Will they get their act together? What price are they to win the SPL for the 358th year running?
We still have them 1-5 favourite, with Rangers 4-1, and Hearts have obviously been a great start at 14-1.
And what's your view on Celtic's prospects this season and the causes indeed of their bad start?
I think the potential long-term issue for them would be issues between Brendan Rodgers and the board. He clearly wanted to sign John McGinn, who ended up at Aston Villa and obviously scored that brilliant volley there last week. But that didn't come to pass, and they got up for the Rangers game earlier in the season where they won 1-0, but it could have been a lot worse than that. But there's this kind of an inconsistency and some sort of kind of an unhappiness there that is slightly worrying, but I would still say that they have far more quality than any other team in Scotland if they get their act together.
Okay, I love the quality of that answer, because when he started off with an I thought it was saying, look mate, I know about as much about it as you, don't ask me that, but he showed his absolute knowledge there. Okay, thank you, Emmett. Right then, Mark, which question do you want to take?
I'll take the Manchester United one. I know there were quite a few questions thrown at Emmett, but I think it will be Zidane, the next manager. Tony Cascarino, a friend of the Racing Post, he was saying that he's heard that from a very good source in France that he's already been sounded out if he wants the job, and I think Zidane has in turn been kind of just sharpening up his English just in case the opportunity comes about. I saw him
pictured outside a red post box.
Yeah, he went to the FIFA Best Awards, and then he sort of did the London touristy things at Buckingham Palace and various others. I'm not sure he is the right choice necessarily, but I think he will. I think he will be the next manager. But United's problems, I think, since Ferguson left, there's nobody on the board that sort of knows football, and so he used to do that himself. He used to be a director of football, chief scout, manager, not so much the coach, but he kind of run the club from top to bottom. They haven't solved those issues of who does various other jobs, and I think we've seen with Arsenal and Arsene Wenger, while Wenger was there, they were bringing in these other people that kind of were going to help out the next manager. United haven't done that, and so you've just got a mishmash of three managers squads at the moment, and that they need some direction, which I think is what Gary Neville was tweeting about, and I agree. I think they need direction.
Okay, so if you think it will be Zidane, but he's not necessarily the right man, who is the right man?
I mean, I would be sounding out somebody like Allegri to see whether he's had enough of winning the league every year with Juventus. Might have a look at somebody like Guardiola and Conte came over, but Guardiola, Klopp, all the most of the great managers now, I think, are based in the Premier League, and whether he fancies a bit of that with a huge institution like Manchester United, he's somebody that can keep calm, and I think that they need somebody like that. The last two managers, I mean, Van Gaal was just as crazy as Mourinho, really, and sort of off the pitch stuff that, you know, you just don't expect of a team like Manchester United. So I think Allegri would be a very sound and sensible choice. And I do like Conte, but he's a bit more confrontational as well, maybe a bit too confrontational. So I think Allegri, if he wants to come to England.
Do you remember when Van Gaal bollocked everyone for not applauding the lady playing the saxophone at their Christmas party?
Yeah.
That's one of the maddest things I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, at least he wasn't. At least he wasn't in the dressing room in Bayern Munich when he dropped his pants to Luca Toni and showed him his genitals and grabbed hold of them and sort of to say, you know, you need to show more balls. I've got the balls of you. Yeah, he's a slightly crazy guy. Did you remember? There's also a story with Gerard Piqué. Somebody said to Van Gaal, Piqué, you know, he's a top player coming through, should be in Barcelona. And Van Gaal went up to him, pushed him over, and said, no, too weak. And that was it.
That's brilliant. Yeah,
that was when Piqué was like, you know, teenager or just coming through, sort of, you know, older teenager.
The acceptable face of mad management, I'd say. James, which question are you going to answer?
I'm just looking at Celtic, actually. I mean, I think we've touched on this with talking about Paris Saint-Germain in the last few weeks, and you know, it's easy to be a bit snide about Brendan Rodgers going to Celtic and winning everything, but actually it's quite a hard job in some ways to keep a team, however good they are, motivated for this kind of relentless sequence of games against teams that you know you're falls on or whatever to beat, and so it's and you know, combined with the lack of financial backing that he gets, which is inevitable as well. I think it's I don't think you can expect Celtic to be winning the league by 30 points every single season, but you know I think this season they will just go on a run and start grinding it out. But it's it's perhaps not as easy a job in some ways as people make out.
Absolutely. And Emmett, which one do you want to answer?
I'll take the West Ham question. Just to make the point that I think one of the main reasons for their improvement of performance is switching to the three-man midfield of Obiang, Declan Rice and Mark Noble. I think that's given a lot more protection than, say, when Jack Wilshere and when Carlos Sanchez was playing as well. I think their front players are outstanding. Since Moyes switched Arnautovic to a striker, I think he's one of the at least top 10-ish strikers in the league. I've been very, very impressed with Felipe Anderson as well. He was a bit inconsistent at Lazio, and I was kind of wondering about, was the fee too much, but he's looked outstanding. And then Yarmolenko's obviously scored a couple of goals as well. So I think West Ham, if they keep all those players fit, I think they're a pretty decent bet at about 13 to 10 for top 10.
That's what I was thinking. Mark, can I quickly get a view from you on that?
Yeah, I was wondering about them for the League Cup. Because they've got Tottenham in the next round, and it's a crazy time for Spurs. They've got to play the Man City on the Monday. The next Tuesday, they're away to PSV, so the Premier League game has to be on the Saturday. And between the Monday Man City and Saturday Wolves, they've got to fit in this West Ham Cup tie. So it'll either be on the Wednesday or the Thursday. And so you can only imagine that Tottenham will have to change 11 players or 9 or 10. And you know, West Ham have got a decent record against Spurs anyway at home. So, and they knocked them out at Wembley.
Cup final, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah. Well, they knocked them out at Wembley in last season's competition.
2-0 down, didn't
they? They did, yeah. So if you do like the look of West Ham, that may just be an avenue, because it looks like they've got a difficult draw, but it's probably not as difficult as what it looks. I mean, unless they try and fit it in at another time, but I mean, the calendar is so rigid that I'm not sure when it will be. Whenever it is, I expect them to go strong, and I don't think Tottenham will be at that full strength.
I like that angle. Right then, let's move on to the weekend games. And good news, we've got a Friday night Premier League game live on the box. Takes place at 8 o'clock. And it is the aforementioned West Ham. They travel to the Amex to take on Brighton. A very competitive game from a betting perspective. Emmett, how do Paddy Power bet on this one?
We're 13 to 8 on Brighton, 9 to 4 the draw, and 9 to 5 West Ham.
Mark, tell me why I shouldn't have a bloody big bet on West Ham.
Well, Brighton are pretty good at home. Last season they didn't lose many, and even this year they've beaten Manchester United, so have West Ham. But I do like West Ham, maybe draw no bet though, because in terms of Brighton, I've been a little bit worried about them. They've had a difficult run of fixtures, but they have conceded at least 2 goals in all bar one of their matches this season. And of course it was that defensive solidity that sort of kept them up last season. If you lose that, then you become vulnerable, and West Ham are in a good moment, as the continental managers would say. I was at the London Stadium on Saturday for their victory over Manchester United. I mean, United were horrendous, but West Ham still had to beat them. And I liked Diop at the back. I thought he was very aggressive, and I think that's one of the changes that they've had. Diop coming in and quickly getting used to the Premier League. He had a bit of a shaky start. I think it was Arsenal away when he didn't play particularly well, and he's given them a bit of pace at the back and a bit of aggression. Because when they played Liverpool on the opening day, they defended high but had no aggression in midfield. And also Declan Rice playing just in front of them gives them a solidity that maybe they didn't have previously. And Noble and Wilshere can't play in the same midfield, so Wilshere's injury is probably a blessing.
OK, West Ham draw no bet for Lango. Milts, who'd you like?
Yeah, I'm sweet on West Ham as well for all the reasons mentioned, really. I mean, Brighton's...
Like West Ham podcast, isn't
I
it?
know.
Hammer time or something.
I mean, if we're doing a West Ham transmission, shouldn't we be swearing and effing and cheffing?
I think you have to do that.
Oh, God. Go on,
I've not got quite the right accent for this. But,
no, you haven't really, no.
But yeah, you know, the shape of the side, Emmett's mentioned that the midfield three and the front three are looking terrific. And Brighton, not defending nearly as well as they did last season. You know, they have to be respected at home, and I think maybe you'd be wise to keep the draw on side. But Brighton only seem to score through penalties. That may just be my bias, kind of having sided against them quite often and getting done by Glenn Murray penalties. But yeah, I think West Ham are a decent bet.
Just a neat win only, none of this draw no bet.
Yeah, go on.
Stakes,
neat. Yeah. Have a lump on the draw no bet and a little top up on the win.
Emmett, are you going to join us in pulling on a flat cap and a bright purple dugout coat and supporting the Happy Hammers?
I'd certainly lean West Ham, but if I was forced to have a bet, if I chose to have a bet, I'd probably go Felipe Anderson to score first. There's some 9-1 out there. We're 15-2, but I think he's been outstanding so far this season. I think that represents a little bit of value. OK, lovely stuff. We are back with the Saturday games next.
Throw-ins, corners, yellow cards. Previously very boring. Now almost too exciting. Thanks to same-game multi-bets from Paddy Power. Same-game multis allow you to combine multiple selections into one game. Easy. Available on all UK and top European leagues. T's and C's apply.
OK, welcome back. Let's look at the 3 p.m. Premier League games. I will read out the prices from Paddy Power and the lads will give us their verdict. We'll start with Burnley versus Huddersfield. It's evens. Burnley 2-1 the draw, 3-1 Huddersfield. Mark, who'd you like?
Draw. I mean, Burnley were outshot 23 at Cardiff last week, so I can't back them at sort of shortish prices. Huddersfield got a draw at Everton, played OK against Spurs last week.
Milts?
Yeah, Huddersfield will draw double chance for me. I think Burnley have been a bit flattered by their last 2 wins and, not vulnerable favourites.
And Emmett?
I'd go the other way here. I think Burnley should be odds on. I think they're a bit better than Huddersfield, and I'd back them to win at evens. OK,
Crystal Palace 7-4 to beat Wolves. Wolves are 17-10, 2-1 the draw. Another testing game as far as the betting goes. Mark, how will it pan out?
Wolves draw no bet. Palace's points have only come against teams 17th or below so far this season. Wolves, I mean, they may not finish in the top 6, but they're not far off it.
James?
I've got Wolves draw no bet as well. I just don't really see them losing this game against a Palace side, short of goals, particularly at home.
Can't argue with that, Emmett.
A couple of long shot goal score bets here. Adama Traore, last goal scorer. He's been sensational off the bench recently. And there's some 14s anytime about Patrick Van Aanholt, who's a huge threat for Palace.
OK. Leicester versus Everton. Leicester 6-5, 12-5 to draw, 11-5 the Toffees. Mark?
Both teams to score. Leicester have kept only 2 clean sheets and were the BTTS Kings last season. Everton, no clean sheet so far in the Premier League, but have failed to score only once.
OK, Mark? Oh, sorry, James.
Yeah, it should be goals, over 2.5. I mean, I think both teams have scored in 5 of 7 games for both of these clubs, so it should be a cracker.
What you got for us, Emmett?
Yeah, I tend to agree with the lads. Over 2.5 here.
Over 2.5. Tottenham versus Cardiff. Tottenham 1-5, 11-2 the draw, 13-1 Cardiff. Mark?
Leave Spurs off your hackers. I think that they could be a little bit knackered, but just anytime goal scorers. Danny Rose getting forward quite a lot from left back, and Dan Charles' favourite. Kieran Trippier with no Ericsson, definitely be on free kicks, and Cardiff are pretty dirty.
Spurs too knackered for the hacker. James?
Tottenham 2-0. I just think Cardiff are really lacking any quality up front, and they're not even proving particularly hard to beat these days. Sloppy goals and yeah, Spurs should do it pretty easily.
And what do you fancy, Emmett?
I'd lean Cardiff +2 or 11 to 10. I think Spurs would be a pretty huge effort into the Barcelona game, and some of the advanced numbers actually say Cardiff are quite a bit better than they've shown so far. So I'll go with that.
Some of the what numbers?
Just some of the expected points, which is based on expected goals for and against, have Cardiff close to mid-table side.
Oh, right, interesting. Watford versus Bournemouth. It's evens Watford. It's 5-2 the draw and 5-2 the Cherries. Lango.
The draw, both playing pretty well. I'm struggling to pick a winner. I've got Bournemouth horribly wrong, tipped them for relegation and nothing like that, but Watford are playing well too.
I'm going to chuck a dart at 2-2 actually in this one. Yeah, I can't really split these teams. Bournemouth's 7 games have featured 24 goals, so again, should be entertaining.
If you were doing a list of people who would refer to a 2-2 as a Desmond, James Milton would be at the very bottom, wouldn't he?
He would, yeah.
There is no danger of that. There's no danger of that ever taken from the postcast, it's got to be said. Emmett, what's going to happen when Watford host Bournemouth?
Yeah, I'd agree with James here. I like over 2.5 at 4-5. I think both attacks have been outstanding. The Deeney-Gray combination especially, and Roberto Pereira, and Bournemouth are certainly better in attack than defence as well.
Righty-ho, the live Premier League game on Saturdays at 5:30. Man United versus Newcastle. Man United are odds on, Emmett, to what extent?
United are 2-5, draw 10-3, and Newcastle 7-1.
Right, Emmett, you're a Man U fan. What is going to happen here?
Even though Newcastle are clearly a poor side, and it's hard to watch like a really good manager like Benitez trying to get the most out of an under-resourced club, but I find I can't trust United at that price, and like Newcastle have actually been quite competitive, losing only by a goal to Arsenal, Spurs, City, and Chelsea, and United are worse than all those teams. So I'd go a Newcastle double chance here at 7-4.
Oh, I can hear the anguish in your voice as you say that. It might not be that bad, Emmett.
It might be a double cock, because if he doesn't, if United don't win, he wins money, and Mourinho probably gets the sack.
Yeah.
So everyone's a winner.
Look upon it that way. Every cloud. Mark.
I was going for Manchester United to win by 1 goal. I mean, it's probably a coincidence that Newcastle have lost 2-1 against Chelsea, Arsenal, City and Spurs, but I think they have shown that they're competitive, but I still don't rate them. It's all about Benitez, isn't it? I mean, whenever we're talking about why they're going to stay up, it's just Benitez. Benitez, actually, I think, is getting a bit of an easy ride for falling out with Mitrovic. I mean, because Mitrovic would have been that goal scorer they're crying out for. Manchester United got back to basics against Valencia, and I thought they deserved to win the game, actually, and if they would have, it probably would have been 1-0, and I think we'll see Jose Mourinho sticking to that philosophy. They're not playing very fluently, but they are still better than Newcastle, and I think if they get in front, they're not going to be going for a second goal here. You know, it's just keep what we've got, and a boring, unadventurous 1-0 maybe, even if you wanted something a bit bigger.
Do they get on? Are they mates, these two? Jose falls out with everyone.
I don't know. I don't think they are, but I don't think they absolutely hate each other. But Benitez took that Chelsea job, didn't he, at one stage, and I think he then made some comments, and Mourinho wasn't particularly happy. I don't think they get on particularly well, but it's not one of the worst relationships.
Okay, there should be some sort of handshake. James, what will happen here?
Yeah, it's a funny old fixture, but under 2.5 goals, I think, you just don't see Mourinho trying to smash his way out of trouble, do you? He seems to have drained the life out of any attacking talent he's got anyway. So, and as the guys have mentioned, I mean, Newcastle haven't been getting hammered in these tough games, but they've just got nothing up front, really. I think they've scored 4 goals in 7 games, 0-0 away at Palace, 0-0 away at Cardiff, and then obviously didn't score against Leicester last week. So those were the games that they should have been, expected to have a better chance in. So yeah, it's not going to be pretty, I don't think.
I'll tell you what, I was reminded of watching Newcastle Palace 0-0 the other week. What a really good player John Joe Shelby is. Honestly, if he had a decent PR and an agent who, and he had the right image and everything, he would be a much bigger star than he is. He's a lovely player.
He did have his chance, didn't he, at Liverpool, and there was talk of attitude problem, wasn't there, I think?
I'll tell you honestly, some of the touches and the sublime, subtle, disguised passes, yeah, I mean, he's an excellent player. Right, let's look at the Sunday games next.
Throw-ins, corners, yellow cards. Previously very boring. Now almost too exciting. Thanks to same-game multi-bets from Paddy Power. Same-game multis allow you to combine multiple selections into one game. Easy. Available on all UK and top European leagues. T's and C's apply.
OK, welcome back to the Racing Post Football Postcast. It's Bruce Millington, Mark Langdon, James Milton and Paddy Power's Emmett O'Keefe. Looking ahead to a wonderful triple header of live football in the Premier League on Sunday, starting at midday. Fulham versus Arsenal, live on BT Sport. Emmett O'Keefe, how do Paddy Power bet on this one?
We're 7-2 Fulham, 10-3 the draw, and 4-7 Arsenal.
James Milton, our resident gooner, how is this one going to pan out?
Well, bear in mind that Arsenal are in Azerbaijan on Thursday night, so a quick turnaround for them, and it looks like they're going to play a pretty strong team out there. With Unai Emery loves the Europa League, so that's one factor to consider. I think over 3.5 goals is the bet. I mean, both teams kind of have got plenty going forward, but wobbly at the back. I mean, Fulham drew 1-1 with Watford last weekend, tons of chances in that one. And Arsenal have scored 14 times in the last 6 league games, kind of since that opening defeat to Man City. And Arsenal, with Aubameyang and Lacazette, who's looking particularly sharp, have got so much quality. I think it should be an exciting game.
Over 3.5 is just as well Bergkamp's finished, isn't it? That 5,000-mile drive from Azerbaijan to Craven Cottage in 3 days. That took some
6 games, wouldn't it?
Emmett, how do you foresee this one?
I'd be eager to take on Arsenal here. I think no team in the Premier League has outperformed their expected points more than Arsenal, and especially having a long journey back from Azerbaijan, I think they're vulnerable. Fulham obviously struggle defensively and could be punished by Lacazette and Aubameyang and the rest, but I think Fulham are a very decent team. I think they'll end up finishing close to mid-table, and I think Arsenal are too short. I think they should be closer to 4-5.
So what's the bet then?
I'd go Fulham double chance at 5-4.
Well, one thing that I'm slightly concerned about, because I was very sweet on Fulham at the start of the season, Emmett, are they just a little bit soft?
They have looked that so far.
Producer Adam, the resident Craven Cottage season holder, has just interjected with a very erudite, yes, we are. What do you think, Emmett?
I think they have been so far, certainly, but I'm quite a big fan of the manager, Jokanovic. I wouldn't think it would take much. Like, if they could just improve that defence slightly, I think their attack is outstanding. Very impressed with Vieto, and obviously Mitrovic has been one of the star players in the league this year.
Okay, Mark?
I'll use another 4-letter word beginning with S to describe Fulham, I think, this season. I think they've been really poor, and I won't swear, but I expected a lot more from them, and they haven't delivered. And unexpected goals against, they're bottom, and he doesn't pick the same back four 2 games running. They're making stupid mistakes, like when I think it was Seri gave the ball away really early on against Man City, and they had the chance against Everton with Sessegnon where he should score, and you've got Sessegnon, sometimes he's left wing, sometimes he's left back. I think Jokanovic, you put the team together late, and I think they're good players, but it's going to take a while yet, I think, before we see the best of Fulham, and you'd hope for their sake, really, that it's not too late for maybe Jokanovic. I did wonder about him in the sack race if it wasn't to be Mourinho, just if there would be an expectancy on him to have done better. For this game, I think the 12 o'clock kickoff at sleepy Craven Cottage, it could take a while to get going. I was looking at the second half to have the most goals. We've seen Arsenal get their goals in a number of games in little clusters. It's like they don't play well for a long time, and then once they score, there's like this release and a freedom.
Bang!
Yeah, bang, yeah. And also, both teams to score in the second half is around about 13-8, 7-4. Shot. Arsenal, for expected goals against, are bottom half this season, which shows you they've still got a lot of problems to solve, I think, as well, but they've got a great attack. So I do think there'll be goals, but it may just come a little bit later.
Okay, at 2:15, it is Southampton versus Chelsea. What's the betting on this one, Emmett?
We're 9-2 Southampton, 3-1 the draw, and 8-15 Chelsea.
8-15 Chelsea. Does that do it for you, Lango?
I think I'd rather back Chelsea than Arsenal. I know that Chelsea are a little bit shorter, but sort of in terms of odds-on away shots, I'd be more comfortable backing Chelsea. Although I think a better way of attacking this one could be to back the draw half-time, Chelsea full-time on the double result. They've won 5 Premier League games this season, Chelsea. They were level at 3 of those. They're a team that dominate possession, and Jorginho just pops off the passes, but it can take a while to wear down the opposition, and it could be a similar game to the one we got against Newcastle, where it took Chelsea a long while, and then Hazard or somebody can do something special, and they've got those players on the bench as well to maybe take advantage. Southampton have been 0-0 at half-time in 4 of their 7 Premier League games.
James?
Yeah, I was going for exactly the same bet. Yeah, draw Chelsea, double result. I mean, Southampton have scored once in the first half in 7 league games. And, you know, they have kind of tended to fade away a little late on. And Chelsea have got so much talent, you know, particularly Hazard. And yeah, Chelsea shouldn't be too troubled by their Europa League fixture on Thursday.
Way, Southampton played, didn't they, in the League Cup on Tuesday in terms of
yes.
fixtures that you never knew were happening until the result came in.
They won, didn't they?
They won
They
on
won
penalties at Everton.
Yeah, Richarlison, did you see his penalty?
No, I haven't. I didn't even know the game was going on until it
Who's
finished.
the Italian guy who took the silly run-up? Beginning?
Zaza.
Yeah, it had that, it had a feint, it had pretty much everything you shouldn't do, and then he smashed it over the bar.
Oh, no, I didn't even know the game was going on until it had finished.
Honestly, do try and look at the Richarlison penny. It's absolutely abysmal. Emmett, what do you think will happen here?
I think it'd be interesting to see how Southampton set up, as Mark alluded to. The West Ham and Newcastle frustrated Chelsea by kind of sitting deep and playing defensively. I don't think that's really Southampton's strength. I think the biggest weakness in their squad is the defence. But wouldn't be a big fan of Jack Stevens or Yoshida. I can actually see this being a relatively open game. I like over 2.5 goals here, 3-4.
Okay, and the big game of the weekend could even be one of the defining games of the season. What a cracker we've got. 4:30 on Sunday. I should be at Longchamp enjoying the Arc. If I wasn't, I would absolutely be glued to the sofa for Liverpool versus Manchester City. What's the betting on the match of the season so far, Emmett?
It's 6-4 Liverpool, 5-2 the draw, and 13-8 City.
God, I can barely split them. James, who's going to win?
I think at those odds, I'm with Liverpool, actually. I mean, you know, we've mentioned earlier they're never in danger of being underrated by the markets. But I think, you know, you just look at Klopp's fantastic record against Guardiola, Liverpool's terrific record in these big games since he arrived. You know, unbeaten at Anfield in the league last season, and obviously beat City in the Champions League as well. I just think at 6-4 at home, I think that's the bet for me.
Sometimes, Emmett, you get these kind of sequences and these trends and these stats, and you don't really pay much attention. But Liverpool have got such a good record against City, and Klopp just seems to know how to get under the skin of City, doesn't he? Don't you think? I
do. It'll be interesting. Like
that was a very polite. I'm tipping City, so you don't know what you're talking about.
I'm actually glad that it's anyone who wants to back Liverpool in this game has been happy by the Napoli result, because Liverpool have drifted since last year. I think they're definitely at a bettable price. I think under Jurgen Klopp, these big games at home, Liverpool generally come up trumps, and I think 6-4 is a reasonable price. I think as well, Virgil van Dijk for first goal scored 35-1's worth a look. He's a huge threat from set pieces, and whoever, especially if Stones or Laporte or Markey, I think they'll really struggle to deal with them. He's been getting closer to scoring in recent weeks.
He was playing up top for the last few minutes last night. Mark, Liverpool v Man City. Yeah,
I mean, the goal expectancy is high for this game. I was just wondering if it was maybe a little bit too high, and that the draw could be... I mean, if it was a draw and sort of on Monday morning, I don't think anybody would be amazed, would they? And yet, it's the biggest price of the 3 outcomes, and I think it's such a big game. I know it's only in October, but these two teams are clearly going to be fighting out the league, and I think the fear of losing, even with these two managers, may be sort of greater than the risk of trying to win the game and being done on the counter-attack. I think if I was looking to go for one of the teams on a draw no bet, it would be towards the Liverpool. They've won their last 6 at Anfield against Man City. Aguero's never scored at Anfield, and Klopp has got a great record against Guardiola, 8 wins in 14 matches, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that is because he is the master counter-attacker, and if there's one thing Pep Guardiola fears, it's the counter-attack, because his team are vulnerable and always will be vulnerable to the counter-attack, and there's stuff in his book about how great Jurgen Klopp's Borussia Dortmund were on the counter. So I would be siding just towards Liverpool, I think, on the draw no bet, but I just think that this is a game between two evenly matched sides, and the draw, I know the goal expectancy is high, I just think the draw is just too big.
You're looking forward to it?
It's my nan's 80th birthday, and I was umming and ahhing at 4 o'clock, and I was at a party, and I was umming and ahhing over, you know, should I just lie and say I've got to work, and I felt bad, so I'm going to try and have a media blackout and watch it when I get home.
The likely lads route. That's impossible.
There's just going to be too many people there, and I won't be able to shut them all up.
Oh yeah, you got no chance.
I know.
Absolutely
so
no chance.
I mean, it would just be no, I would be looking forward to it, but I'm not. I'm wishing it was any other time, but really, but still.
Oh well,
yeah.
I'm sure your nana will be delighted that you're there.
I'll tell her. I'll tell her the sacrifice I've made.
Yeah, I think you should do, definitely, mate. Okay, jolly good. Thank you very much, chaps. Before we do the naps, any bets that you want to mention down the leagues that people should be having this weekend that aren't your nap?
I quite like Swansea against Ipswich. Saw Swansea on Tuesday night. Thought they were absolutely brilliant in a 0-0 at Wigan. So that would definitely be one. And I thought Southend, who did the business for us on the naps last week, around about 10 to 11 to beat Oxford, who are banging trouble at the moment. I quite like them too.
James?
No, nothing for me other than my nap. I'm going to save it.
Emmett, anything for you?
No, nothing apart from my nap either.
In that case, let's do the naps.
This will not be beaten.
Mark Langdon.
Colchester United draw no bet at Stevenage. I think Colchester could well be top 7 this season on expected goals. They're sort of definitely up there at the moment. They're scoring a lot of goals, and Stevenage, I just don't see it as sustainable what they're doing at the moment. You have a look at the teams they've played recently: Grimsby, Cambridge, Macclesfield. They're just some of the worst teams in the league. I think that Colchester will finish quite considerably higher than Stevenage, and they're around about sort of 10 to 11 draw no bet.
Righty-ho, James?
I'm going for West Brom to beat Reading in the Championship. Reading haven't been quite as bad as I thought they might be this season, but I think at West Brom, a lot of teams are just going to get blown away. They've got so much talent going forward, and they've won their last 4 at home, scoring 15 goals, and I think Reading will struggle.
What price are they?
I think that
6 to 10ish, are they?
Yeah, I think around that. Yeah.
Pretty defensive. Still, a winner's a winner. Emmett?
I'll go with Burnley at evens, a bit less confident after hearing the lads tip Huddersfield, but I'll stick with Burnley.
You stand your ground, and they've already said it. Wolves draw no bet at Palace. I'm afraid Palace are really toothless at the moment. We have got major problems up front. Wolves just look relentless grinders, and I was going to back them to win to 0, but I'm going to go with the draw no bet route at a shade of odds on. Lovely stuff. Thank you very much, chaps. So Mark's got his Nan's 80th. Have you got a game on Saturday?
Yeah, a good game actually. Norwich against Stoke.
Lovely.
Norwich are riding high at the moment, so yeah, looking forward to that.
I'm just reading Crouchy's book at the moment. Very good fun, that. He's on the bench these days. They've got quite a bench, you know. I looked the other day in midweek. They've got Crouch. Can't remember anyone else, but you know.
Bojan was there.
Yeah, I think Shawcross been.
Shawcross was on the bench.
Shawcross has been on the bench.
He's
been axed.
Off to Carrow Road.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Milts, have you got the seat? Oh no, you're away this week, aren't you? So what are you going to be doing?
I'm taking my daughter to rugby tots on Sunday morning.
Rugby tots? She's only about 18 months.
She's got to get them started early. It's all the good bits of rugby. They're kind of running and catching without any of the.
You don't have to drink aftershave and sing a silly song.
There's not a referee just randomly blowing his whistle every minute. Yeah,
How old is she now?
It's good fun. She's 3 in December.
And she's going to rugby tots?
She loves it. She loves the running. She gets the ball, runs, and likes to sing "You Can't Catch Me, I'm the Gingerbread Man" while she's running along. No, she loves it.
Incredible. Emmett, what are you going to be doing?
I'm planning on staying up for the Conor McGregor fight on Saturday night, and then I'm off on Sunday, so I'll be bleary-eyed watching an excellent Premier League programme on Sunday.
And punting away. Good luck with that. Thank you very much, guys. Don't forget, if you do enjoy the shows, please make sure you rate, review and subscribe wherever you are listening to us. We've got the Racing Postcast tomorrow. Back next Wednesday with more golf, and if you can't join us for them, we'd love you to join us next Thursday for another Racing Post Weekend Football Postcast.
Throw-ins, corners, yellow cards. Previously very boring. Now almost too exciting. Thanks to same-game multi-bets from Paddy Power. Same-game multis allow you to combine multiple selections into one game. Easy. Available on all UK and top European leagues. T's and C's apply.